Hello everyone, welcome back. In this video, we will create a Linux virtual machine in AWS. So let us jump in. The AWS service that allows users to create virtual machines is called Elastic Compute Cloud EC2. So that's the service we are going to use after we sign into our AWS account or AWS console. Wait a sec, how does this all work? All we did was we signed up for AWS account, and now we have the power to create these virtual machines. How does it work? So let us step back for a minute and look at a very high level diagram and understand how this all works. I will not go into the nitty-gritty of the whole networking, but at least I will give you a 10,000 foot overview of the kind of network that was given to you when you signed up for the AWS account. And then we can go into our console and create a Linux machine and then sign in using PuTTY. Okay, let us jump into the diagram now. Okay, here is a diagram, and here is a very high level representation of what really happened when you actually open your AWS account. What AWS did is it created a default private cloud for you. A virtual private cloud for you, and it's sitting there ready to be consumed. And the default VPC comes with 3 default subnets, and all the 3 subnets are facing the internet, meaning when you create a virtual computer or EC2 instance within your subnet, it will automatically have a route to the internet, and it will get a public IP address. So when you create an EC2 instance now within your account, it gets a public IP, and you should be able to sign in using SSH from your machine, from your personal computer. Now, how do we do all that? That's the purpose of this video. We will take a look at it. So now let us jump into our AWS console and kind of look around, look at the router, the subnets, the VPC, and then we will create a Linux EC2 instance. Here is our console, and I clicked on the services on the top, and I will go down to networking and content delivery, and under that there is a VPC. I'll click on it. Here is our VPC dashboard, and this kind of gives you a high level picture of your VPC. It shows you how many VPCs you have, how many subnets you have, routing tables, internet gateways, etc. I'll go ahead and click on the VPC so that I can look at the VPC that was given to me at the time of creation. Here is the VPC. It has an ID which is more internal to the AWS assignment. You cannot change the ID, but you can name it using that name column on the left, and it has an IP address CIDR block of 172.31.0.0/16. Now let us look at the subnets. We have 3 subnets. We have 1 routing table, and it clearly shows that it has a route to the internet. By the way, the one that you see 0.0.0.0/0, and then you have target as IGW, that's the entry that allows access to the internet. By the way, I hope I was not overwhelming you with all this information. I just wanted to show you what you get with the default VPC when you sign up for an AWS account. Now, let us go ahead and create an EC2 instance now. Okay, I clicked on the services, and then now I have EC2 at the top. I'll go ahead and click on that. Here is the EC2 dashboard, and by default, we don't get any running instances. We will have to create them. Go ahead and click on the running instances so you can see that page. Click on the launch instance to start creating a new instance for ourselves. You could have clicked the launch instance on the previous page as well. It's all one and the same. We are on the step 1 now. We will have to choose an Amazon machine image. So here, this would decide the operating system of your EC2 instance. And by the way, we are using the free option, the free tier or the free plan of the AWS. So, you cannot pick any image. You'll have to specifically pick the AMI that is flagged as free tier eligible. If not, you'll be charged. In our case, in this video, I will be choosing the Amazon Linux AMI. Once we select appropriate AMI, the step 2 is to choose the instance type. And the instance type will decide the amount of memory, the amount of processing power, and the network bandwidth. All that is decided by the type of instance that we pick. And by the way, the T2 Micro is a free tier eligible option. So that's the only one that you have. If you try to pick any other instance type, you'll be charged right after you start running the instance. So make sure you pick the one that is labeled as a free tier eligible. Click Configure Instance Details. On this page, you can decide the total number of instances you want to launch, and the VPC by default, it will be the one that we got at the time of sign up. We only have one VPC, by the way. You can always have more than one VPCs in your account. And the subnet in which you want to launch your machine. And there is an option called auto assign public IP. And by default, that is enabled on the subnet. So accepting the default options will, by default, provide a public IP to the instance that we'll be launching. Let's pick a specific subnet. Click Add Storage. Accept the defaults and click Add Tags. And on this page, you can add tags to your EC2 instance. You can obviously add more than one. And just as an example, I'll add one here. I'll give name as the key and value as SSH server. Click Configure Security Group now. By default, the process or the workflow here will create a new security group, and by default, it allows port 22 for SSH. This security group is equivalent to a firewall on a system. So this is outside the operating system, but it will act like a firewall, like built-in firewall D within a Linux system. But this is outside the Linux operating system, lives within our VPC environment, and it kind of allows the port 22. Accept the default and click Review and Launch. And this is step 7. Review the settings that you picked and click Launch button. Now we are presented with the key pair. Since we don't have any key pair within our account, we will have to create one. Use the drop down there and select Create New Key Pair. Give a name to your key pair and then click the Download Key Pair to download the key to your machine. By the way, you would need this key to SSH into this particular EC2 instance. Go ahead and click Launch Instance. Okay, AWS finished launching the instance. Click the View Instances button. Okay, here is the instance that is still being launched by the AWS environment, and it's as you can see, the state is pending. So it may take few minutes for AWS to fully launch your EC2 instance and make it operational. Okay, the status has changed to running, and the status checks are still in the initializing state. But we should be good to go. We should be able to SSH into the system most likely. Okay, let us try that now. By the way, the actions drop down button will allow you to stop an instance, start an instance, or terminate an instance. When you say terminate, it's completely gone. Amazon will completely delete from your account. The very first option in the drop down is connect. It does not connect to the EC2 instance, but it will show you the command that can be used to connect to the instance. Here is the SSH command, and it is using -i option to use the private key to connect to the EC2 instance. Now the interesting thing is there's nothing we did in terms of public IP. The AWS environment assigned a public IP to you, and moreover it is DNS name, not just the IP. If you look at that command there, it says EC2-18- blah blah blah, and then it says .compute.amazon.aws.com. It's not IP address, it is a DNS name. You can also use the IP address from the console and use IP address to connect it as well. Both will work. So let us do it. Okay, here is the public IP. I'll make a copy of it. Now let us switch to our Windows machine and try to SSH into our AWS EC2 instance. To start with a PuTTY, we will be needing PuTTY key generator to, generate or extract the PuTTY private key from the key that we downloaded. So go ahead and start the PuTTY key generator and load the .pem file that we downloaded from AWS. Once you load, you have an option to save the public key and the private key. I will go ahead and save both the keys. Now that I have the private key and also the public IP address of the EC2 instance that we created, I should be good to go with the PuTTY now. I'll just go ahead and create a profile. And by the way, the user that we should be using is EC2-user. So let me go ahead and configure a PuTTY profile with the username EC2-user and the public IP address. And also I'll configure the profile to use the private key. Okay, I created the profile, saved it. Let me, click the open button. I have a PuTTY security alert here. I'll click S. And we are in. I did not enter any password. So the system, the PuTTY, used the private key and SSH into our EC2 instance. Let me switch to the AWS console and show you the SSH command that AWS displays there. As you can see, it says SSH space -i, the private key, file name, and then EC2-user at the DNS name. Let us try using this command. I'm going to use MOBA Xterm, which is freely available on the internet. You can go ahead and download it and install it on your Windows machine. This particular tool comes with built-in SSH tools. It also comes with SSH server, but I'll not get into all those details. But if once you install, you can open a local terminal which would emulate a Unix-like environment, and it already has SSH as a command built in, which you can use to connect to the EC2 instance. Okay, here is my local terminal session, and I'll cd to the folder where I have the the .pem file. Let me change the permissions to 400 on all the .pem files, and then what I'll do is I'll try to connect to our EC2 instance using the command provided by AWS console. I'll just copy paste the command and try to connect. As you can see, we are in. The Linux machine is all yours to explore and learn. Okay, in this video, we looked at the default VPC and the default subnets that were provided. And then we created an EC2 instance using a Linux image and also the free instance type. And then what we did was, during the instance creation process, we created a key pair. We downloaded it, and then to make it work with PuTTY, we loaded it using the PuTTY key generator and extracted the public key and the private key, which is .ppk for PuTTY private key, and then used it using PuTTY to connect it to the EC2 instance. And then we used MOBA exterm to connect to our EC2 instance using the command provided by AWS. By the way, the same command can be used on any Linux machine or a SIGWIN environment to connect to this particular EC2 instance. Well, that's it in this video.